All right, this is it, the third and final part in our restoration series of a classic arcade machine that we rescued from an abandoned mall in Cincinnati, Ohio. And yeah, so this is the Atari Kangaroo, an original arcade game from the early 80s. And this cabinet has had quite a journey over its lifetime, making its way into my possession. So it was actually built overseas by Atari Ireland in Atari's Irish factory in Tipperary, Ireland. So yes, this is an Irish cabinet, an Irish Kangaroo, and somehow made its way to North America. The story that I hear typically is a lot of these were kind of re-imported or imported from Ireland to Canada, and then they made their way into the U.S. And I got this game from Ohio, and Ohio is just across Lake Erie from Canada, so pretty plausible story. So over the years, it makes its way from Ireland, perhaps through Canada, into Ohio, and eventually into this arcade at a mall in Cincinnati. And this mall actually is a pretty infamous, abandoned mall, the Forest Fair Mall or the Cincinnati Mall. It had a couple of names over its lifetime. And the arcade that I got this game from was actually one of the last tenants to remain open as the mall eventually, closed down and became abandoned. And I picked it up, from the arcade owners, earlier this year. And, the first couple of episodes that we did, the first one was sort of the pickup and the history and initial overview of the cabinet. And then in the second episode, we got the monitor working again, the terrible Matsushita monitor. And we did an initial test of the game PCB and showed that it was working. So in this episode, we're going to wrap everything up. We've got a bunch of cosmetic work that we need to do to the cabinet. We're going to rebuild the joystick. We're going to replace all of the T-molding and put it all together and wrap it up into a nice bow at the end. And I know this video gets to a bit of a slow start, but trust me, you're not going to want to leave because I've got a really nice surprise at the end of this video that you're not going to want to miss. So without further ado, why don't we head out to the garage and get started? Let's go!
Overtime!
All right, here we are, working again on the Irish Kangaroo, of course manufactured by Atari Ireland in Tipperary. And yeah, lots of little things that I want to do on this project, and I think we're actually surprisingly close to being done. I'm not going for a showcase restoration here. I generally do not go for, bringing things back to museum pieces, museum quality, because they were only ever like that once coming out of the factory, and sometimes not even from the factory. And perfection is not what you encountered with these actual machines in actual arcades in the 80s. So we're going to do a bunch of quick and dirty stuff. And I think I try to sequence things sometimes in an order that kind of helps with productivity. And one of the sort of not really tricks to do that is anything that needs to dry, adhesives or paint or whatever, do that first to give it time to dry so that it doesn't block you from doing other things. So I think that's what we're going to do. We've got some loose vinyl, and I actually noticed some loose laminate on the front that we're going to spray some glue on to hold down. I'm not going to completely restore the coin door because, again, I've got this, kind of weird later Hap style upper coin door with the actual coin. Well, there's no mechs, but sort of the coin slots, which is in decent shape, and it is one I'm going to use. I looked at a couple of other options. I do have some other over-under coin doors, but the other two that I have are actually this Hap style too, which of course is not original to the cabinet. I have to get some additional screws to remount this on the frame. And the other screws that I have from other coin doors are kind of too big. These are actually really, really, really tiny little screws here, machine screws. And I grabbed one just so I can take this to Ace Hardware and find a match for it. But yeah, so don't really have to do anything to restore this. There was a little kind of bend by the lock, which is, not uncommon, which was sort of blocking it from closing all the way, but that seems good to go now. The lower coin door, sort of where the cash goes, That's got a little bit of rust on the lock hole and then down here. So like I said, I'm not going to completely restore this. It looks like it's had some rust painted over in the past. I will take it off. I'll kind of touch it up a little bit, you know, use some sandpaper to knock off some of the rust and then paint over it a little bit. I was having trouble getting a bunch of these screws off to remove it from the frame, but then I blasted it with some WD-40 and let it sit, and yeah, now they're coming out. There's some rust on the inside of the frame here too. There we go. Yeah, and you can see the paint sort of flaking right off of the rust, so it's even worse on the bottom than I thought. But yeah, I'll just knock this off with some sandpaper, and then we'll probably give it a coat of the textured finish, and then some my, you know, Rust-Oleum Universal Satin Black. But yeah, now we've got it off the frame. And I'm going to put that down for a second, because I actually want to get the cabinet on its back to do the adhesive, or actually maybe for the vinyl on the side I can do that with while it's still standing up. Sorry, let me come in here. So basically what we've got is you know, this wood grain vinyl is kind of peeling off here and up in the top corner. And what I'm going to use to re-adhere that is this 3M90 adhesive spray, contact adhesive. This stuff is pretty good. It's, you know, sort of easy to work with. You know, it's like almost like contact cement, where you spray it on, you got to shake up the can, you spray it on, actually on both sides, actually let it dry for a minute or so to get sort of tacky, and then put the pieces together. That's how you actually, you know, sort of get it to hold. So I'm going to grab a piece of newspaper here and some painter's tape, because I don't want this stuff to just really go everywhere. The can I have has this nozzle that allows you to adjust the flow of the adhesive, but just to prevent, you know, potential overspray, I will sort of do a little bit of this and a little bit of this. And yeah. And I'm not really worried about the T-molding, because that's something we're going to replace in this episode. So I think that's probably good. I think I'll be able to control the spray. Actually, let me cover up the control panel overlay just in case. Maybe I'm being too cautious here, but hey, ounce of prevention, a lot better than having to get a new CPO, because that is not part of the plan here. So go like this, and that actually didn't. Put in the painter's tape there is not going to do anything at all. So we'll hold it on like that. So that's good. Just going to be a little temporary thing. So yeah, so again, this 3M90, this can I have has this sort of adjustable thing. You can see it's sort of printed with low, medium, and high right here for the flow, and you can turn it like this to go from high to medium to low. We'll put it on low just to sort of, you know, control the flow as much as possible. Again, sort of going overboard here. I'm going to put a glove on my left hand just so while I'm kind of holding the vinyl, I don't necessarily need to get it all over my hands. I'm going to practice test by spraying it into my trash can. All right, that looks good. And I'm just going to come in here and sort of spray it in. Just spreading it out that way. All right. Oh, we got way too much. Let me grab some. Let me grab some paper towel and clean that up. Just because we don't need all of that. But again, we're letting it dry a little bit. And there's a little too much up here. I keep looking up when I hear trucks coming by because I am expecting a very, very special delivery actually for this project, which will allow us to get things done. That smells like rubber, which makes sense. Maybe it's like spray rubber cement. I'm not entirely sure, so yeah, we're letting that, we let that dry for about a minute, and then we'll put those pieces back together. All right, it's been about a minute, and we'll come in here and push these two pieces together as flat as we can get them. And you can see, even on its own, it's already starting to hold. All right, that's good. You know, it's not going to be perfect. Well, wants to hold on to my rubber glove, or really, I guess it's not rubber, it's nitrile. And I got some clamps here I can help with the process. And it's probably overkill, but I did put some painter's tape on them just to prevent it from going. I don't think that corner is going to really get on, but that's fine. And yeah, we'll come up to the top here, and we'll do the same in the upper corner, right up here. Again, some newspaper just to prevent us from getting all over the place. And maybe one like this. Yeah, I'm super glad that this has the original speaker grill, which would be very, very difficult to find another one for. Is that zoomed? Yeah, okay. So we'll just shake up the can a little bit more, and this is a much smaller area, but I just want to throw it on so we don't lose more of the vinyl than we need to. So, okay. All right, again, we did too much, but you gotta get it in there, and we'll wipe it off with some paper towel. Just to make sure we have enough, but not too much. And look at that dripping down. It's already bubbling. It's interesting why it's bubbling like that. Probably because the vinyl sort of wants to close and like push air into it. Got some on my skin. That should not be a problem. Yeah, let me let that dry for a second, and we'll clamp that down too. All right, that should be good. Close this down. Squeeze the sides together. And failure. I squeezed the vinyl right off of the cabinet. Not what I was intending to do. Great job, Charlie. Great job. But the bottom seems fine. And then I'm going to try to just get like a, I don't know, a furniture marker or something and color in the bare particle board. Looks like that's what somebody has already attempted to do. And let's see, is this going to hold on? Yeah, okay. So I think that's good. I can actually take all this newspaper off. All right. I think we can reuse these pieces. And for the vinyl part, or the laminate part in the front of the cabinet, I'm actually going to lay the cabinet on its back. So let's come in like this and watch me do that without killing myself or breaking anything. I've got some cardboard down and some brand new moving blankets that I got for cheap on sale at Harbor Freight. All right, try not to break my daughter's bicycle. And let's come in over here and show you what I'm talking about with the laminate on the front of the cabinet. So this panel here, I guess you would call it the kick plate, doesn't have wood grain. It has this sort of a black laminate. And right here you can see I can lift it up pretty good. Not so much on this side, although a tiny bit, and it's sort of cracked right here. But I want to spray that adhesive in to hold that down. Let me actually clean off that part real quick so that we're not potentially gluing any dirt or spider webs or anything. And man, is this a is this an exciting start to this video or what? I imagine a bunch of people probably already clicked away. They're like, what the heck are you doing, Charlie? But yeah, you know, I like show, even though I will, you know, jump ahead sometimes, or I don't know, do like, you know, montages or whatever, where I speed up the video so you have to see every little painstaking detail. I do like to show basically everything that I'm doing, just so that you know what goes into restoring these things, even when you're doing kind of a quick and dirty, you know, whatever version of it. So again, a little bit of, let's see how far we need to go. Yeah, maybe there and maybe here, just to contain any potential overspray. Where's the can? Right here. And yeah, I'm gonna try to peel this up a little bit. Get some, oh, is there any? Yeah, some dirt right there. Get this adhesive as far back as I can without cracking the laminate. You can see it's happening over there. But yeah, this 3M90 spray adhesive works pretty good. All right. Maybe that's too much, but hey, that's that's how we do things at Overtime Arcade. So let me let that dry for just a moment. I got a little bit overspray that kind of jumped over here, so I've just got a wet paper towel, and it's already kind of stuck on. So I might grab some a magic eraser to kind of sand it off once it's dry, and I think those are the only real spots where it landed. But again, this isn't perfect. It would be way too much work to get, oh, there's a bunch right there. Oh, yeah, that's because it's from the spray kind of getting out. All right. There we go. So it's kind of, it wants to lay back down. I'm going to quickly grab another couple clamps just to sort of help with that process. And of course, they don't want to get off the wall. Actually, I'm not really going to be doing anything with clamps. So maybe put some weight on it. Let's see. All right, so I think it's going down pretty good. Squeeze these two pieces together. Again, it's not going to be perfect, but should hopefully be a little bit better than before. And then I've got my large fire extinguisher that'll just help us with a little bit of weight to sort of hold this down. All right, over on the workbench, I think I've got everything I need to rebuild the joystick for the Kangaroo. If you remember, this thing had been kind of partially disassembled. We did have all the sort of major parts. We had the joystick itself, the shaft and the ball top, the housing and the leaf switches and all that. But we were missing a bunch of the hardware pieces, the washers and the bellows or the grommet. So I kind of pieced it together. I have this bag over here of broken kind of random joysticks. That's where we got the Pango, long skinny Wicco from. Got a bunch of random stuff in here. And these are all relatively similar to the 8-way, I don't know, 3.5-inch Wicco, fat Wicco that we have here for the Kangaroo. Some of these have micro switches. Some of them I don't think are so that one says Wicco. Some of these I think are knockoffs, right? Like that one doesn't have a Wicco branding on it at all. but they're all pretty much the same. And so I was able to get, fortunately, I had to check a bunch of them. I found a good original grommet or bellows in decent shape. It's not dry rotted. Now, I've always got, Andrew B's reproductions just in case, but these are really, really nice, and I want to save them for a nice game like maybe the Robotron the second Robotron that I've got in the restoration queue. This one has a little bit of corrosion on the metal parts, but the rubber grommet itself is in good shape. So I've got the exploded joystick diagram from the Atari Kangaroo instruction manual, and I've kind of reproduced or recreated that layout sort of over here with the joystick ball top with the dust washer. You can kind of see it here. Dust washer, and then they call it the top plate, and then the second plastic washer, what they call, most people call this a grommet. It's a bellows. It's called a bellows. In the Atari manual, it's designed to sort of, recenter the stick. And then the steel washer, which needs to be cleaned, the spring. Then we have the switch plate with our 4 leaf switches. We have our actuator sort of in there, and then the E-ring, the E-clip down at the bottom. So I need to clean up some of this stuff. I'll clean all the plastic stuff myself. I do want to show you what I do for the joystick. I didn't really show the details of this for the Pango. I want to remove as much of the sort of corrosion from the metal shaft itself as possible. And I do have some scratches here and sort of dirtiness on the ball top that I'd like to clean up. So to do that, we're going to use my power drill. We're going to use some sandpaper on the metal parts. We're going to use some Novus on the plastic parts, and we'll get this all polished up and shiny. And then I'll use clear coat to seal the metal so more corrosion doesn't happen. Okay, so again, here's the joystick shaft that we want to touch up a little bit. Again, we want to sand off all the rust and corrosion, kind of polish up the ball. If the camera will zoom, you see we got some scratches underneath here and just a couple blemishes, although overall the ball top looks pretty good. I think I've shown this before, but this is the Novus sort of plastic scratch remover and polish system, and basically there's 3 different levels of plastic polish of increasing abrasiveness, or I guess decreasing abrasiveness. So Novus 3 is a heavy scratch remover, so the most abrasive. Then you have Novus 2, a fine scratch remover, and then Novus 1 is really just like a shine or polish cleaner, which is why I use this quite a bit actually. Rarely use Novus 3. I am going to use it a little bit just because some of those scratches are a bit heavy. I think we'll spend most of our time with Novus 2 here, and then a little bit of Novus 1 at the end. So what I'm going to do is take the joystick and I'm going to chuck it into my power drill here, open it up a little bit more. There we go. And then tighten that down. So we can basically let the power drill do all the work of polishing and removing the scratches without me having to exert myself. So I've got Novus 3 and a microfiber cloth. I'm going to put a decent amount of the Novus 3 right here in the middle. And I'm not going to go crazy with the 3 just because this is the most abrasive level and I don't want to damage it, but I'll sort of just, get that polish kind of where I'm going to need it. And yeah, we'll kind of just let the drill do the work. And again, you don't want to go crazy, and you can see it's already doing some good work here. And if you hold it down way too hard, it will get super hot, and you'll like burn up the microfiber cloth will start to become like it'll melt, and you don't want that. You don't want the plastic to melt into the the microfiber. That is bad news. So I don't know how well we're going to be able to do with the really deepest scratches, but we'll give it a try. I can feel the heat building up a little bit just because, again, this is an abrasive polish. You can see the other parts, it's working pretty good, but on the deeper scratches, and I don't want to go too crazy, especially because it's underneath. I don't want to make it worse, scratch it up worse than it is. You can see how shiny it's getting, but maybe I'll try one more time. And it basically, and you can see a little bit of the red showing up in the cloth. We're you know, essentially taking off outer layers of it. Yeah, I can feel that warmth building up. Oops. Trying to get some kind of pressure on those points where the scratches are, but yeah, you know, it's a little bit better. I could go crazy on this. I'm really trying to work that down, but yeah, I think we might be starting to melt here, or make the scratches worse. That's also a risk that you take. So let me, yeah, now we got like a ring, almost like a planet. We might have dislodged something that was wedged into the plastic of the joystick ball top. So here's my Novus 2, you know, browner color. Again, different levels of abrasiveness. Now my goal is to like remove that ring that we've now created. I would imagine by dislodging something either in the dirty microfiber cloth or the ball top. All right, we've officially gone from bad to worse to possibly junk. We got a ring on the bottom, we got a ring on the top, and I tried using a magic eraser and that wasn't doing it. I think, again, we melted something. I don't know if you can see that up close. So my last ditch effort, I'm actually going to use some 600 grit sandpaper, and this is wet dry sandpaper, so I just put a little bit of simple green on it, and we're going to see if that helps at all. And I don't think it's going to, but this is our last ditch effort before just using a different joystick or different ball top. And yeah, this still isn't really working. Well, maybe it is a little bit. See what I can do with this. All right, I think we're making progress here. You can sort of see the, I don't know, inclusion or whatever that sort of caused this problem, but I got most of those bands out. I think I'm going to do a little bit more with the Novus 2 and then the Novus 1, but we should be kind of okay. And I have done a bunch of simple green and magic eraser and that 600 grit wet dry sandpaper. That seems to be doing the trick, but the simple green does leave a haze, so hopefully the Novus 1 will knock that out. So yeah, here's what we're looking now with the Novus 1. Again, you can see the inclusion or whatever that is, a burn mark that caused a lot of these problems. And yeah, you know, there's some pitting, whatever, that I'm not thrilled about, but I think that's about as good as we're gonna hope to get. Maybe I'll do a little bit more with the Novus 1 in the paper towel. Yeah, this is really just a cleaner and a polisher, not an abrasive, but yeah, I think as my alarm's going off, yeah, I think that's okay. So I think this is gonna be what we run with. You know, not perfect, but again, we're not doing a perfect restoration here. So there you go. All right, and with the ball top good, or at least good enough, we can address the rust and corrosion on the joystick shaft if the camera wants to focus. I've covered the ball top itself in some painter's tape, which will help not only protect it while we're sanding all the rust off, it'll also keep me from getting that clear coat on the plastic. So we'll re-chuck it, and I'm going to make it so that it's just barely in there, so I can get as much of it as possible. sanded. All right, I think that's nice and good. I'm going to start with just an extra disc of 220 grit, see if that does the trick, and if necessary, I'll switch over to 80. But basically, you know, again, letting the drill do all the work. It rotates while we hold the sandpaper in place. And you can see it's coming off real quick, so I guess 220 is really all we needed here. Is it 220? What did I say? Yeah, 220. So yeah, coming right off, so this should be pretty good. All right, I think that looks pretty good. I'll take it out of the chuck, and the bottom part we'll just get, just with our hand, manually sand off just a little bit there. You know, really all you're ever gonna see is this top part. Oh, I guess there's still a little, there's some dings in here. But yeah, again, not perfect, but definitely better than it was originally. So yeah, you're only really ever gonna see the top part of the shaft. The bottom part stays in the mechanism of the joystick. But I think this 220 did a good job. Looks pretty good. And yeah, I think we're ready for just a little bit of clear coat, just to seal this and make sure that the rust doesn't have an easy path to return. So let's prep for that. Oh, and before I forget, I also wanted to sand off the rust on the carriage bolts that hold the joystick, mount the joystick onto the control panel. And again, you know, I probably should tumble these in my tumbler to get all the rust off, especially in where the threads are of the screw, but I can't be bothered to do that. So I'm just gonna again use, you know, I've got it chucked into my, and I got 4 of these, I'll just show you one. I've got one of the carriage bolts chucked into my power drill. I've got my 220 grit sandpaper that I was just using for the joystick, and I'll just come in here and again let the drill do the work. And you can see it's already getting nice and shiny. So I'll make sure I'll do all 4 of these. I'll try to get some of the underneath, and we'll be ready to spray these spray paint these black. Okay, the more I look at this lower coin door, the more I really want to kind of, you know, restore the whole thing, but I don't know. I also don't want to at the same time, but I think I need to bring out some of the bigger guns to get all this old paint off and the rust. So I am going to use the wire wheel attachment again on my, or the wire wheel brush attachment on my power drill, and yeah, hit it with this and see what we make of it. I may end up stripping all the paint off. I don't know. Like I said, I can tell there's been some work that's been done here before, but yeah, here goes. Okay, ready to do some painting. And I've shown you, I think, most of these techniques before, so this is sort of how I do it with the, it's not even taped in all the way. With the joystick shafts, I sort of poke them through a box here and tape it from underneath so that only the shaft is exposed, which is what I want to hit with the clear coat. And then over here, for the carriage bolts, this is a technique that I learned from good old John at John's Arcade, if I can do this one-handed, is poke holes in like a soda box, right? And I guess this was sparkling water, whatever that my wife drinks. Poke holes in so that they stick out. I got them in my pocket here. And then push them into the box so that only the tops are exposed. It's a great way to hold it so that you don't have to ever turn it or anything. And yeah, we'll paint these black. All right, that looks good. And then here's where we ended up with the lower coin door. I did as much as I could to remove all of most of the rust and all of the loose paint. And, you know, if I was doing this the right way, I would strip it off completely down to bare metal and, do it from scratch, but I don't want to do that. I swear I'm not lazy. I'm just trying to do the, quick and dirty restoration here. So I'm gonna paint just the backside black and then flip it over, and we'll do a layer, maybe 2 layers of the hammered finish, and hopefully that'll blend in and hide sort of where the old finish and the bare metal is exposed, and then we'll cover all that up with black paint. So hopefully that will work, and I'm sure there's plenty of you out there saying, Charlie, no, don't do that. That's a terrible idea. But hey, if it doesn't come out the way we want it to, one, I'm going to be kind of okay with that, just because, again, I'm not going for perfection in any of my projects, particularly this one. And of course, if it comes out really, really bad, we could always redo it, but I doubt it'll come to that. So yeah, with the joystick shaft, again, I'm going to use the same clear coat that I've used before. Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch 2 times, ultra clear, ultra cover, matte clear. So I've shaken this up a bit, and yeah, we'll come in and just probably do 2 light coats. So I'll go like this, make sure we're getting it from all of the sides, and not spraying it too much where it'll go on to our other items that we're trying to paint. So that's good for the first coat. I'll switch to the black paint here, and this can that I've got is almost empty, but should be enough certainly for the carriage bolts, and perhaps will get me through the lower coin door. And yeah, we're getting really low. So that's probably good for a first coat on the carriage bolts. And then over here with the lower coin door, we'll see if we can get away with this. I think we're really running out. I mean, it's going to help a little bit with the texture. Sputtering like that. Actually, it's not bad. I think we're getting enough out. If this was, again, if I was doing some kind of showcase piece or a museum quality restoration, I would really take my time with this and do it right. But this is just for me. Well, and I'm sharing obviously the process with you all, but quick and dirty. And yeah, I think that's probably the end of this can. So I'm gonna let this first coat on all these, rest for 20-30 minutes. I'll hit them again. And then I think I'll be ready to go, ready to roll with the carriage bolts and the joystick shaft, let them dry for, overnight, 24 hours, that sort of thing. And then what I'll do with the coin door is, while it's actually still wet, I'll probably give it maybe an hour or two. I'll flip it over and then I'll come back and show you how I do the hammered finish on the front. So stay tuned. All right, it's the next day. Everything's dry on the back, and I think it actually looks pretty good. Let's make sure we can open and close the hinge, and I think we're okay there. So yeah, so flip it over, and we'll do the top side with the hammered finish paint, the Rust-Oleum Universal Hammered Paint and Primer in 1. And again, even though this says black, it really comes out looking more like a steel, like a dark gray color. So I'll probably put at least 2 coats, maybe 3, of the hammered on the front of the lower coin door. And then we'll have to come afterwards with at least 1 coat, maybe 2 coats of the regular Rust-Oleum Universal Satin black to really make it as black as we want it to be. And I might actually do 3 coats of this hammered, we'll see, just to be able to cover up all of the issues, hopefully, and blend it in. I'm not sure if this is going to come out great the way that I just kind of did a roughshod sanding here. I definitely, like I said, I should have stripped it all down, but I'm trying to do this quick and dirty. And, this will be an experiment. If it doesn't come out great, I can always redo it. But, maybe together we can learn why or why not you should take shortcuts. So, yeah, and like we learned last time with Ms. Pac-Man when we painted on the hammered finish, you definitely want to do light coats. Otherwise, it can get kind of, it'll almost look like it's melted. The texture's melted. So I've already shaken up the spray paint can pretty good. And yeah, here we go. Light coats, hopefully. All right, we're getting some splatters, which I don't necessarily love, but cool. I'll let this dry for, 20 minutes or so, and we'll come back and do another coat. Okay, and while that's all drying, we can get back to the cabinet itself. Let me actually put my fire extinguisher back where it goes. Okay, so if you recall, we used some 3M90 spray to glue all of the loose side art vinyl down and some of the laminate off the front panel. So get all this stuff off and we'll see how it's looking. I had some clamps holding down the side art or the laminate up here. Just being careful not to rip it off. So that looks good. Oh, and you know what I forgot to do today? I was at Ace Hardware buying some stuff and I forgot to get a furniture pen to color in the missing spots of vinyl. So we'll have to do that together tomorrow. So this looks real solid. Obviously you need to clean it up, but very happy with that. And this looks pretty good, nice and secure. Again, we got some patches to color in, but really not bad. So next thing I want to do is replace this T-molding that's in awful condition. So let's actually lift up the cabinet without letting it roll away, because it is on wheels. And let's see, I'm going to move things around just a little bit, because I do want to lay it actually on its side for this. Would be the easiest way, I think. All right, and I'll lay it down on its back. Again, I got to be careful just because it does have wheels, and I don't want those wheels to get up from underneath me. Okay, I'm going to put some cardboard down and these moving blankets, which I don't know if they're really going to help. And we'll just, if you can see what I'm doing, hopefully, yeah, we'll roll this onto its side. I actually wanted to do a bunch of this last night, and then I got on a call with my buddy Dell from Delusionals Arcade on YouTube. We're doing a live stream together on Friday night, which is tomorrow. You're probably watching this on Sunday or later, or if you're a Overtime Arcade channel member, you might be watching this video right now on Saturday, thanks to members only early access. And yeah, we were planning this live stream. We were on a call for 4 hours last night, and yeah, didn't get to do a lot of work on the Kangaroo. In that live stream, we're cracking open a bunch of consumer TV sets, and so I've got those set up on my table, my folding table here, under all those blankets. A bunch of TVs that by the time you're watching this, those TVs will be gone, or at least cracked open to test the yoke windings, the resistance, to see what the ohm readings, to see if what monitors they might be compatible for a tube swap. But yeah, so replacing the T-mold. A couple interesting things going on here with this Irish Kangaroo. So first of all, it's got T-molding all around the cabinet, right? So that's why I'm kind of showing you this angle. It's got T-molding wrapped all around the bottom and the back, the top and the front. And usually machines aren't like that. Usually there's just maybe, an inch or two on the bottom here, and obviously the front and usually the top, but almost never the back and almost never the bottom. But for whatever reason, Atari Ireland did sort of a full wraparound. There's just really like an inch gap right here underneath. The other thing is the T-molding that they used, a little bit unique. You know, the most common thing you usually see is like a, I guess that one's not it, but like on the Cubert, you have like a leather texture kind of T-molding, and this is smooth. It's smooth and black, and so I ordered a bunch of replacement T-molding. I made a pretty big order to twistedquarter.com, a good source for parts. I'm not sure I've mentioned them before. And this is, I think, 40 feet of 3/4 inch smooth black T-molding. I'm not going to need anywhere near 40 feet for this cabinet, but I got extra because I might want to do some other stuff in the future. And I think we've done a little bit of T-molding before, but let's do this together. I'm grabbing my rubber mallet. I'm grabbing my side cutters. I'm dropping keys onto a monitor, and yeah, grab put the T-molding here. So, and I've got it on its side. That's going to allow us to be able to do the whole piece without having to, you know, remove anything or do much of anything. See if I can get a fingernail underneath here and get it started coming out. Maybe try prying it out with the side cutters. There we go. And once it starts, it should come pretty easily. You don't want to rip it out too hard because then you can risk like tearing out a bunch of this particle board, because this is a particle board cabinet. And you can already see Atari did a good job. They, you know, to make these tight, you know, this is a 45-degree angle here. Is it 45? 90, 180, yeah, 90-degree angle, sorry. They notched I think it's called the tang of the T-molding so that it will bend that way. And they probably cut it in a couple other places too. Actually not there. They should have done it here. We'll do a bunch of those cuts just so our, yeah, there's one right there. Just so our corners are nice and tight. And gently removing the old T-molding. And I'm going to leave it intact, the other side of the bottom for now, just so I know kind of where to start and stop the new stuff. And let's see. Yeah, there's barely any gap on the other side, but here, sort of get it started. Maybe right there. All right, I'm just lining it up. And it actually doesn't like that part. There we go. So we've got it started about the same width of a gap as before. There's a little piece of wood that's kind of I can see the slot is not totally clear where I've been pushing it in. All right, there we go. Starting to go in pretty good, and we'll just work it in a little bit, and we'll come and kind of gently tap it into place with the rubber mallet. You don't want to go hard. You don't want to risk damaging the cabinet, but you're doing that just to kind of help the T-molding get all the way into the groove. Okay. Yep. Keen observers will no doubt have noticed that you're now looking at the other side of the cabinet. I finished the first side before noticing that for whatever reason my camera had stopped recording, and I have no idea why. Everything went on, you know, really smoothly, and I was remarking about how, you know, relaxing I find it to be to install new T-molding. And yeah, I don't know if I'm going to be repeating myself. You know, nice and soothing, nice and relaxing. I think it's one of the easier cosmetic things to do. Really, anybody can do this. Yeah, but at the same time, I kind of realize it might not be the most thrilling thing to watch, so hopefully you're still tuned in here. All right. And I was mentioning before how, I haven't even watched the footage because I'm on a roll here, how you want to be extra careful tapping it in around these sort of wings that come out from cabinets, you know, often around control panels, just because these are weak points on the cabinet, obviously, and yeah, you don't want to break off a piece of the cabinet, as that would be bad news. I mean, virtually anything you do is repairable, but it can be a huge pain to have to do that in time, and yeah, so being a little careful around these sensitive bits. And I was mentioning how this old mallet that I have, I actually inherited from my father-in-law. He would always scratch his initials and the date when he got a tool because he didn't want his buddy stealing them, I guess. So this says October 28th, 1988 on it. So almost 35 years ago when he got this tool. So that's kind of cool. And when we do these sort of inward bends, right, concave, right, you don't have to cut out a piece of I was saying tang before, a piece of the prong or you don't have to cut out a piece of the barb. You can just cut it and it'll bend open. I think I might have cut some of the barb out right here, but yeah. And then I will often use the inside, the top of the mallet to help get it into those concave bends. Yeah, be gentle, you know, a little bit of encouragement. You don't have to jam it in there. Actually, I think this is kind of stretched across the bend. That looks better. Okay, and this has sort of, you know, red and green sides. The red side is actually the softer side of the mallet, and the green side is harder. So if you ever see me use the green side, it means something's not necessarily going great, and I'm trying to force it. I always think of it as, you know, green means go, and I'm done asking nicely. Okay, come on. Yeah, hopefully you're enjoying this. Like I said, this is relaxing for me. I'm trying to do it quicker than I normally would, so I don't bore you to death. Maybe I need to speed this up and do it as a montage. Wouldn't that be cool? All right, let's rip off the rest of the old T-molding. Like I said, this is something that I find very satisfying to do. It's easy, it instantly makes your cabinet look like $1,000,000. Anybody can do it. And you know, often I'm content to leave the old T-molding intact, and like this stuff was entirely intact, but I don't know if it'll show up on camera. See how it's sort of shiny and dull in some areas? This, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's been exposed to some chemical or something, but it's just sticky and like coming apart. And I tried cleaning it. That wasn't working, so off it goes. But yeah, this is going on really easy. Like I said, anybody can do this. It's so satisfying. Yeah, nice. Okay, we've got our extra that I'll just put over here for right now. What I'm gonna do, I already did this on the other side. I'm gonna go around real quick and just double check that there's no T-molding sort of lifted or uneven Just kind of go around and tap it again, just to make sure everything's nice and seated, especially on the far side away from you. That side has a tendency to not necessarily be seated all the way. And hopefully I'm not breathing too heavy into the mic. To get in better shape. Okay, looking pretty good. Pretty good. All right. I'd say that was a success, hopefully. Now for the reveal. I guess not much of a reveal, but just, I'm gonna stand it up. I'm gonna stand up the cabinet and let you take a look at what we, accomplished. So, hopefully the camera's still rolling. Yeah, and we are. Spent way too much time filming T-molding. Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right, there we go. It's not too heavy because the monitor's not in it. Put this out of the way. And sort of position it so you can see. How's that looking? Beautiful. Much better. Nice and shiny. Doesn't need to be trimmed at all. You never know, like, you know, it's maybe like 0.5 millimeter too wide. But hey, give it time, and this particle board will, especially being in the garage, if I leave it out here, will eventually absorb some humidity and expand to fill it. But yeah, looks really good. Again, this is 3/4 inch smooth black T-molding from twistedquarter.com. I think the proprietor's name there is Andrew. So Andrew, thank you very much for selling this to me. I got it pretty quick too, and a good price. I might have to adjust the leg levelers again. But yeah, how does that look? All right, we'll check that off the list. T-molding, done. Okay, the next thing I want to do is give the control panel overlay a good scrubbing. This is the original CPO, and it's in decent shape. There's some kind of nicks down here in the bottom bend, which is not uncommon, but it's, you know, 99% intact, and no sense in replacing it, even if I could find a reproduction CPO for a Irish Kangaroo. If it's different than the US version, I'm not sure. But anyway, it's got some grime on it, and we want to make these colors pop, especially the yellows and all that. And very easy to do. All you need is a little bit of simple green and a magic eraser. Just wet the magic eraser with a little bit of simple green, and then gently scrub, and you'll sort of see this transformation happen pretty quickly. Basically, again, you've heard me say this before, the magic eraser acts as like a very high grit sandpaper. So you're basically taking the, and I've said basically a couple of times now, you're you're taking the top layer of the CPO off, and you can start to see some of the yellow maybe coming off with the grime. And that really helps make the colors, you know, come back to life and pop. I really should be doing this with all the buttons off too, but that's not going to be a problem. So yeah, scrub this really, not so heavy. I mean, you know, you do you. However your game is, you know, you might need a little bit more or less, but yeah, spending just a couple minutes here, giving it a gentle scrub, and if there's any kind of, you know, stains or whatever, like here, you know, where people are going to put their forearms, elbows, whatever, you can always add a little bit more simple green. Don't go too crazy, but a little bit of elbow grease will help take those stains out. Some of them might be more stubborn than others. how does that look? Just gonna wipe off with paper towel and kind of reassess where we're at. Might have a little bit more touch-ups, but we've got most of it so far. I can pull this out and just make sure, yeah, I got some the simple green on the inside. Don't want this to get absorbed by the particle board, of course. All right, I'd say that was a success as well. And now I'm gonna wipe down the entire cabinet, again with simple green, but probably not much with the magic eraser. Really just giving it a wipe down and cleaning it up all the way around, every external surface. So let me go and do that, and then we'll move on to the next step. Okay, now that we're nice and clean, or at least cleaner than we were before, let's start putting some stuff back together. I think we're getting pretty close here. I think I can go ahead and put the monitor in. So, and if you remember from, previous episodes in this series, this monitor kind of gets mounted from the front. Some cabinets are set up where the monitor comes in from the back, some from the front. And the back door doesn't want to come off. There we go. All right, of course, because it's made of particle board, you can never expect it to be the same size twice, as humidity is constantly changing. So basically we've got, vertically mounted monitor. We've got two fixed bolts up here that don't come out. So we'll hang it sort of on these two bolts. We'll line it up. There's two removable bolts that go down here at the bottom. And then we've got our wiring to hook up in the back, including with the, if you can see it, the little adapter I made to go from the normal pinout that comes from the wiring harness to match up with the Matsushita wiring that's a bit different than normal. So let me grab the monitor from over here. I never cleaned the monitor, but I did wipe down the tube, the screen. So that's in much better shape than it was before. Okay. What's happening? What are we doing? Okay. There we go. There we go. There's also like a bolt in the back that I can kind of put it onto to mount onto a crossbar, but it wasn't like that when I got the cabinet, so it's not, strictly speaking, really required. I think it's a little bit off to one side. All right, I think that's good. So here are my removable bolts for the bottom. So I'm just going to come in here and make sure I use the right setup of washers. And there goes one. The washer on either side and a lock washer on the front side here. Go up against the nut. Start by hand tightening it. I know, exciting, very, very complex stuff here. But I think we're getting super close to this being all done, with one notable exception. And if you've been watching this series, you know what I'm talking about, but we'll figure out something to do with the bezel at some point. All right. Oh, no, I gotta find my nuts for the top here. All right, I actually found them in the first place I looked, and believe me, that never happens. So we've got a washer on either side, a lock washer on either side, and a bolt, or a nut. All right. I'm gonna grab my socket drivers. All right, making progress. Monitor's in the cabinet. What's next? Coming around to the back of the monitor, making these connections here is pretty simple. So we've got our power. Of course, I say that, and it turns out to be more difficult than I was expecting. Murphy's Law, right? So really what made it a little bit more tricky was I had removed a bunch of these cable ties that sort of hold the harness in place throughout the cabinet, and wasn't ready to replace those, but I eventually fished out the screws from where I put them, and I, mounted. This is the speaker, and the marquee light wire gets mounted up here, and over here, and over here, and down here, and then there's another wire here holding. It branches off of this part of the harness and goes to the power for the monitor and the ground. So that's all connected here like this, and the ground is mounted there. And then the video signal cable comes off of the edge connector harness from the PCB, goes up here, gets mounted to the side of the cabinet up there, down and around. And then again, I've got this sort of homemade adapter to go from the typical RGB connector coming off of the harness from the PCB edge connector to the pinout that the Matsushita monitor expects. You saw me make that in the previous video, and everything is good there. Also, while I was in the cabinet, I noticed there's a bunch of dust bunnies in here, and I really should vacuum it out at some point and like wipe down the inside of the cabinet, but I'm not going to do that today because this is just going to live in the garage for now. I did notice, however, that the original power cord, it was a lot more frayed than I was comfortable with, so I went ahead and replaced that. I put a new Molex connector on the end there, a 0.93 Molex pins and connector, all that. And yeah, and I even replaced the bushing on this sort of power cord plate. I don't think it's correct size bushing, but it'll help sort of hold the power cord in there, so that's good. And I noticed that the 2N3055 bottle cap transistor on the AR2 power supply board was the original, so I went ahead and replaced that because that's a critical component. And if it goes bad, you can potentially send bad voltages to your PCB, and we don't want that. So I think we're pretty good back here. So we can come over and put this joystick back together finally. We're ready to do that, so we'll do that over here on the workbench. And in a couple hours, I'll be going live with Dell. We're doing that live stream to open up a bunch of CRT TVs and see if any of them are suitable for tube swap, drop-in replacement tube swaps for arcade monitors. So I'm excited about that, but I got to get all of the parts that we need. And we've got the exploded diagram. I believe this is from the Kangaroo instruction manual. So we've got our freshly polished ball top joystick here. So you can see we sanded off all the rust and clear coated it. It doesn't look too shiny. Maybe I should stop using the matte clear coat and go for like a gloss or a semi-gloss and get all this painter's tape off. There we go, nice and shiny ball top joystick. And we just sort of follow the instructions here to put this back together. Here we go. And actually I'm going to do the ball top last because I can't mount it, can I, with the... Oh, I can actually. Okay, so I can mount it on the control panel with the ball top on, but actually it'll be a little bit easier to put all this together like so. There we go. And then I think the spring will fit through. So we kind of line it up like this. Get the assembly together. Whoops. Actually, that can go in separately. And then line up our screws and screw it into place. All right, that looks pretty good. And then kind of line up the joystick to slide through. There we go. Yeah, I forgot the steel washer that needs to go in there. So we'll kind of slide it in like that. And it makes it a little bit more tricky to line up the joystick shaft to fit through everything, but I've done this a bunch of times before. All right, there we go. Now we put the spring on. Let that sort of slide in. There we go. And the actuator, move the leaf switches out of the way to let it slide into place. And it's a little bit spring loaded, which is good. And then put our E-clip on. Let me grab my needle nose pliers just to help with this, and hopefully this thing doesn't go flying anywhere, everywhere. One of my channel members, Sean, was telling me about a tool for avoiding that. And it looked like a pretty cool tool, but designed for, I guess, removing and installing E-clips just like this, but it's 20 bucks and these things are so cheap. So it's like, how many do you have to lose before you break even? All right, here we go. Fully assembled joystick, ready to be installed back into the cabinet. Back over at the cabinet, we can go ahead and install our joystick on the control panel. We've got our carriage bolts here, which have been sanded and painted, and I've got a, what is this? 3/8 socket, and I'm just going to come in here, and I want to mount it so that the sort of ugly spot is not super visible. But I guess I can twist the joystick, so that doesn't matter. Yeah, it twists freely. So we can just sort of come in here and put it like so. I'll grab my, look at that. See, this is what it's like when you don't tumble. It doesn't cover up the rust down there. But we'll just line it up through the top, push it in all the way, grab one of our Keps nuts, here we go, and mount it like so. Finger tight at first until all of them are lined up. Okay, and with the joystick secure, we can go ahead and plug it back up. I did take pictures of the wiring before I disconnected it, which is always a good idea just in case it gets mixed up. But here, the wires show me where they want to go. So as long as I don't, mix up any of the directions and will, left with down or whatever, which you can always fix. Really, these leaf switches just close and complete a circuit. So even if you get the wrong connector on the wrong lead, it doesn't really matter all that much. Okay, and that down here. And of course, we'll test this just to make sure that everything is good to go. But I think that looks pretty good. Up, down, left, and right, moving freely. Cool, so the joystick is mounted and reconnected on the control panel. So now with the control panel put back together and reconnected, I think we should be able to do a power-up test and try out those controls. So I've got the new power cord plugged in, everything wired up, and I'm going to hit the switch in 3, 2, 1. And we should be coming up with Kangaroo on the monitor. And there we go. So I had played with the monitor adjustments a little bit, and I'm kind of happy with where it is. There is a bit of a curl. I don't know if you can see it. Let me bring in close here. There is a bit of a curl going on here in the upper corner. If you can see that here, kind of curls up like that. And yeah, I had to manually degauss it, and I'm still having, look at that down there, a DeGauss issue. So once I get this into its final spot, I can mess with it a little bit more. But yeah, game's still working. And I don't know if you can hear this. There's almost a little popping coming out of the speaker, which I don't love. And of course, our marquee light is out, so we'll have to address that. Let me actually do that right now. Fix the marquee light. I do have a replacement fluorescent bulb for it. So let's come in here and see what's going on. We've got these sort of just Y connectors here. I'll try to pull them off the end. Here we go. So you can see it's just like a Y connector. That's what it's called because that's what it looks like. And then the glass bulb itself is just held on by these metal clips. So the metal goes right onto the glass, which always kind of stresses me out. When I see that, I'm worried that I'm going to break the bulb. So there's our old bulb. This is a Philips. It says, I don't know if you'll be able to read that. I can barely make it out. What does that say? TLD 15W33, which I think is a 15W cool white, maybe. So here is the replacement bulb that I picked up from Ace Hardware, 18-inch, there, if you can see it, T8 15W F15. So this should hopefully work. Famous last words, right? But we'll come in here and mount it first. Very carefully, of course. All right, there's one side and the other. Don't want to break the tube. That looks reasonably centered. And got to position it so that the connectors can attach. There's one side, and then the other, and hopefully this fires right up. Yep, there we go. Look how bright that is. Which is almost kind of a problem. Of course, we don't have the bezel, if we're ever going to be able to find one of those things. But so, you know, on the Kangaroo, just like the Irish Kangaroo, just like the Irish Gravatar from Atari and the Irish Dig Dug from Atari, all of which were made in the Atari Ireland factory in Tipperary, rather than having a separate marquee piece and a separate bezel, two pieces of glass or plexi as the artwork, they did it all as one piece of glass, right? And I'm having trouble finding one. Nobody reproduces them yet. So we'll see what happens there. But so there's one piece of glass, and the marquee is still backlit, but it's supposed to have a piece right here to block the light coming from the light up here for the marquee, which is only supposed to illuminate the top or the marquee part of the glass and not illuminate the bezel below, and not sort of, you know, wash out the colors like it's going here. And there are these slots that you know, piece of material called a baffle is supposed to slide into, and mine is missing. What I did was I went to Hobby Lobby, and you can go to Michael's or any kind of craft store, and I got a piece of foam core board. This is about a ½ inch thick. It's already black, so I don't have to worry about painting it or anything. And I cut it to size, I think 23 inches by 9 inches, and I should, in theory, just be able to slide it in here, and this will block out the light. How does that look? So looks much better, if you can see. Again, we still have glare in the garage and it's light out. Much better than without it. The game is on free play, and I want to come in and make sure the controls are working here. So I'll just hit the player one start button, which kind of in free play mode acts as a credit switch too. So we'll have to figure out something to do there. And start it up. You can hear the sound. It's a little scratchy or poppy. All right, let's test our controls. Punch left, punch right. Let's see. All right, I think the controls are, whoop, we're dead. I think the controls are all working, all right? Jump, go right, go left, crouch, super leap, whoop, and we can test super leap to the left. Yep, I think we're good. And I'll let Mama Kangaroo take another apple core to the head. So yeah, so we've got our marquee light working. We've got a new baffle installed. We've got our joystick installed, tested and working. So yeah, making great progress. Now we can go ahead and reinstall the coin doors. Here's the lower one that I repainted, and yeah, definitely at certain angles you can see where the repair was, but at other angles it's not that easy to see. So yeah, quick and dirty job, but I think I think I'm okay with that. So I did go to Ace Hardware and found actually 8 new matching screws. So we can come in here and line them up and mount them in. All right, that one kind of fits. Oh my gosh, I was having issues with this before. It's like tight over here. I don't know. It's just not really designed for that frame. Let me see if I can pull it out without breaking anything. Here we go. So that's really snug, but hey, we'll figure something out at some point. And I don't think it's the screws back here that are making it hard to close. I think it's just slightly larger than the frame size. Another minor issue that we're going to have is wiring up this coin door. So if you see down here, I've got no coin mechs and no lights, just coin switches for the chutes. And another weird thing in here, I don't know if you'll be able to just see it right here. This is a really bizarre connector. It's a 9-pin Molex. I think it's a 1991 series, completely obsolete. Peter from arcadepartsandrepair.com had really never even seen one of these before. Yeah, couldn't find it anywhere. So I'm actually going to repin it into a new sort of much more typical 9-pin connector. It does have 0.093 Molex pins in there. So we'll use this new connector on this side, and I've already made, through the magic of television, a little harness here that will match up. It's got somewhat close to the right colors and will allow us to run the wires that we need, the signal and ground wires that we need to the coin switches and to the ground. So what I'm going to do is go one by one, and I'll show you, I've printed out the right page of the wiring diagram. Here's the coin door wiring diagram. I'm gonna go one by one, pulling these pins out. I actually bought not really the right one, still a knockoff, but a better Molex pin remover. It's not the sort of correct spring-loaded one, but we'll kind of go one by one here and replace them as we can. And I'm actually going to follow the numbering that's on the new Molex, not necessarily how the numbering might have worked on the obsolete one, just so that I'll be able to keep things straight. So the first one I already kind of tested, it's the switch ground, and the pin actually pulled right out, so we're going to have to replace that for number 1. Number 2 is the right coin switch, and it's orange, so we'll push our extraction tool and see if we can pull that pin out. Okay. Oh, that one's not going. Let's try number 3. That one came right out. So number 3 still has a good pin. That is yellow for the left coin switch, and I'm going to slide that into slot number 3 on the new connector. If I can get it in. There we go. A little help from some needle nose pliers. Yeah, I'll go through here one by one, pull each of these out, pop them into the right spot, and then we'll be ready to mount the new connector. All right, we got that all connected, and it was really just the first pin that had to be repinned, so reconnected everything. We're plugged into the new harness, and the new coin door harness is all plugged in down here. So we should be able to control the coin switches or use the coin switches to credit up. Got the ground and everything there, so that's good. And I've already gone ahead and changed the dip switch settings to coin play instead of free play. So I think we're pretty much done here. You know, obviously, of course, except for the combination bezel marquee glass that we don't have. You know, I posted a want to buy thread on Clav, and you know, I also said I'd be willing to pay a bounty if somebody just wanted to get a high-res scan of theirs if they have one to get reproduced. But you know, I just don't know if I'm ever going to be able to find one. Wait a second. What's that box over there behind these TVs? What is this? What does that say on it? What does that say? Huh. What is this? It says, from Joe's classic video games to Overtime Arcade. What in the world could this be? Let's pop it open and find out. I'm being careful not to cut myself. What is in here? Maybe this is a better angle. What in the world could this be? It's foam. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Ron, Joe, thank you so much. And it looks even better installed on the cabinet. Ron and Joe, I really cannot thank you enough. And obviously Ron and Joe are the guys behind Joe's Classic Video Games on YouTube. And if you're subscribed to my channel and you're not subscribed to theirs, you are definitely doing something wrong. They have one of the best arcade and pinball restoration related channels on YouTube. They also have a store in Rock Hill, South Carolina that you should definitely check out if you're ever in the area. But yeah, what a great bunch of guys. You know, and when I posted that want to buy thread on Clav, I thought it was a huge long shot. I didn't expect anybody to have a spare bezel for sale, and I was hoping that the bounty that I was offering would at least tempt somebody to scan their original so that I could get it reproduced, and that was going to take, you know, months and months. But literally just like 2 hours, maybe less, after I posted that thread, Ron responded with a private message saying, hey, I've actually got one. It's just over my shoulder. It's been hanging on the wall in our workshop in our store for, I don't know, 15 years. He texted me a photo. I immediately made payment. And yeah, Ron and Joe had it in the mail on its way to me that very same day. And I could not be happier with what we've got here. So why don't we actually come in for a little bit of gameplay, and we'll start to kind of wrap up the video here. You know, Kangaroo is, I'll be perfectly honest, not the best game in the world. It's not particularly well regarded by arcade enthusiasts, but I think it's interesting at the very least. It's kind of cute, you know, maybe a bit of a kid's game, but yeah, why don't we coin up and play a little bit. So obviously, if you're not familiar with the game, you play as this mama kangaroo. You're trying to rescue your baby kangaroo from these nasty monkeys, and it even calls them nasty monkeys on the instructions. And yeah, they try to throw apples at you, drop apples at you. You're trying to climb up to the top. You know, each stage is a little bit different, just like Donkey Kong. You grab fruit for bonus points. You can obviously knock out, you can punch the monkeys for points. If you hit that bell, it will reset all of the fruit, and so you can climb back down and capture more fruit for higher points. Every once in a while, a big ape character might come out, and he's got boxing gloves too, and so you have to fight with him, and he can knock you out. But you know, the controls are really clunky. You press up to jump, like you can see on the control panel here. You press up to jump, and then up and to the right and up and to the left to super leap. There's people who have actually, you know, modded it and added jump buttons as a second button to make it a little bit easier to control. But yeah, it is slightly clunky. But yeah, why don't we coin up and play a game here? There we go, and you can see I did get the the coin door wiring correct. And sorry if there's tons of glare. It's, you know, daytime actually right now. But yeah, so yeah, the music will be a little bit loud, and I'll try not to you know, be distracted. And you can see we still have the gauze issue down here. And I have determined that it's the control panel that's become magnetized that is causing that problem. You know, because if I take the control panel off, or even kind of, you know, open it up and lean it out of the way, the gauze issue goes away. So it's here we go. We've saved our baby. So that gauze issue, we'll figure it out. I don't know if the metal control panels become magnetized somehow. We'll get to that. So here's stage 2. So yeah, if this is your first time on the channel, welcome. Please consider subscribing. I release new videos like this every weekend, typically Sunday afternoons, but I got a little bit backed up with the filming and editing of this one, and so this really wasn't released until Monday. Overtime Arcade channel members actually got early access viewing, and were able to, oh, you got me. We're able to watch this on Sunday. Usually they get to watch my episodes on Saturdays before the public gets access on Sundays. If you want to learn more about becoming an Overtime Arcade channel member and all of the perks and benefits of that, click on that join button down below and you'll learn all about it. You get, like I mentioned, early access to all my new videos before the public gets to watch them. You get access to a monthly members only live stream, and we've got our September one coming up this week. You also get access to our private members-only Discord server. Oh, I dodged that one. And we've been having a ton of fun, you know, chatting, getting to know everybody. There we go. And, you know, it's a really, really active Discord. And I want to thank our newest Overtime Arcade paid channel member, the Wildcat. Really appreciate your support. Thank you so much. If you like this video, hit that like button. It helps me a ton. It helps YouTube know to recommend videos like this to viewers like you. Whoa. Oh my gosh, I guess I can't jump down that far. Yeah, so hit that like button, subscribe. If you're interested in any of the parts or tools that I used in this episode, check the video description down below. I always have links to all the parts and tools that I used if you want to use them in your own projects, your own restorations. And yeah, we do this all the time. So if you like what we're doing here, subscribe, like, share, comments. Tell me what you think. If you think I could have done better, and there we go, game over. There is a fourth level, and I forget actually what that one's about. I got to it not too long ago, but yeah, let's clear this out so it doesn't go forever. But yeah, interesting game, cool game, but yeah, I think we'll wrap it up here. Like I mentioned, thanks for your support. Thanks for watching, all the likes, comments, shares, subscriptions, everything. I really, really appreciate it, and it means a ton to me. So with that, I think I'll wrap it up here. As always, I'm Charlie. You've been watching Overtime Arcade, and I'll see you next time.
Overtime!